Tonight, an Inglewood home destroyed as a common household device sparks a devastating blaze. A former reality TV contestant fronts court accused of a brutal attack on a WA police officer. A Perth man left fighting for life after a motorbike crash in Bali. Donald Trump branded violent and dangerous, saying a former congresswoman should have guns trained on her face. And the sweeping changes to student debt repayments promising loan relief for millions of Australians.
This is 9 News Perth with Tracy Ver.
Good evening. We begin with breaking news, and there's been a terrifying home invasion in Perth South. Crime reporter Michael Stamp is in Silver Sands tonight. Michael, a man's been assaulted with a weapon.
That's right, Tracy, in his own home. It happened just before 4 p.m. here on Seawind Drive here in Silver Sands. We understand several people broke into the house behind me here in Silver Sands, and the man was confronted by several people inside the home. He was then punched and hit several times with a weapon. He also has head and facial injuries and is now recovering in Peel Health Campus. Now, police are still here gathering evidence. They're still in the early stages of their investigation, but they are calling for anyone who may have CCTV or dashcam vision around 4 o'clock today to come forward and help with this investigation. Tracy?
Michael Stamp in Silver Sands, thank you. An Inglewood man's home has been reduced to rubble after fire ripped through early this morning. The ferocious blaze sparked by a device most of us use, his portable phone charger exploding.
3 a.m. in Inglewood.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
The blaze so ferocious it spread within minutes.
Oh my God.
The flames tearing through the 2-bedroom unit.
Oh yes, they were shooting high into the sky. In fact, I was a little bit worried about our house.
Inside, a man in his 50s, hearing popping sounds before his smoke alarm, he managed to escape. 000 called, but nothing could be done to save the man's home. A granny flat out the back of his parents' house.
The fire is devastating to the family because a person has lost all of their property that was inside that structure. Luckily that they have escaped with their lives though.
Today, this is all that's left. The cause, a portable phone charger exploding.
It could have been due to being overloaded, or it could have been old.
When I spoke with the man's father this morning, he was in good spirits, saying this is not a tragedy. They have insurance and his son is doing well. The man will stay here with his parents until he finds a new home. Hours earlier, firefighters were called to this home on Averley Loop in Butler. A faulty air conditioner to blame. Fortunately, no one was home.
Very scary, very scary.
Bianca Carboni, 9 News.
A former reality TV star has been charged with assaulting a police officer in City Beach. Matthew Eric Goyder is accused of grabbing the officer by the neck and pulling him back, causing his head to hit the concrete and fracturing his ribs. Police say it took 6 officers to separate the accused. The court today told the former Farmer Wants a Wife contestant has an unrelated criminal record. Bail was granted, his lawyer telling the court he has an acquired brain injury. A 15-year-old boy remains in Perth Children's Hospital tonight after colliding with a car while riding an e-scooter. Deegan alone was struck near the Star Car Wash at the Ellenbrook Central Shopping Centre. Emergency services racing to the scene around 3:30 yesterday afternoon.
How scary for not only him and his family, but also for the person that hit him. That's something that person's got to, deal with as well.
The teenager received serious head injuries tonight in a stable condition. The driver of the car escaped unharmed. A 21-year-old Perth man is fighting for life after a motorbike accident in Bali. Dylan Brown was on holiday when he crashed the motorbike he was riding on Tuesday. Yesterday, he underwent major surgery to stem bleeding on his brain. An online fundraiser helping with the surgery costs has raised $130,000. His parents say the remainder of the money will be used for a medical flight home to Perth. 3 million Australians with student debt could soon be better off under major changes set to be introduced from next year. The federal government set to raise the minimum repayment threshold for student loans and slash repayment rates.
Kate Jones studied communication at UTS, graduating yesterday with a big debt.
But I checked it the other day and it's literally $45,000. So for a 3-year course, I was a bit shocked.
The 20-year-old recently started as a casual multimedia video producer at 9. And while she will have to start paying off her debt now she's working, she might not have to pay as much, with the federal government announcing it'll lift the minimum repayment threshold from incomes of $54,000 to $67,000.
What this will do is help people who are just starting out, who've just finished uni, who've just finished TAFE.
It also plans to reduce the amount those with a student debt have to repay, based on incomes of up to $180,000 a year. For example, a graduate earning $70,000 a year would see a $1,300 reduction in their minimum repayments, while a graduate earning $80,000 would pay $850 less.
What it means is that there's more money in your pocket rather than in the government's.
But the opposition claims the changes will leave students worse off in the long term.
Someone on $70,000 with an average HECS debt of $27,000, repaying $450 a year, will take 58 years to repay their debt.
More announcements set to ease cost of living pressures for younger Australians are expected in the coming days, a move the Albanese government will no doubt be hoping translate into votes, with an election not too far away. This week, a change in the way loan repayments are indexed will be debated in Parliament, which could see $3 billion of student debt wiped before Christmas.
I am glad that it's not something I have to think about straight away and it's sort of a later problem.
Kate Creedon, 9 News.
Donald Trump has been accused of using dangerous rhetoric after suggesting guns should be trained on the face of Republican critic Liz Cheney. The presidential candidate is now being investigated over whether he's violated death threat laws just days out from the election.
Donald Trump on familiar ground.
It's great to be in Milwaukee. We love Milwaukee.
Returning to the venue where he first appeared after his assassination attempt. Tonight, frustrated by technology.
I think this mic stinks, by the way.
But it was his treatment of women once again in question.
She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face.
The attack on longtime Republican Liz Cheney branded violent and dangerous. The former Congresswoman, who's backing Kamala Harris, warned this is how dictators destroy free nations.
Anyone who wants to be president of the United States who uses that kind of violent rhetoric is clearly disqualified and unqualified to be president.
Donald Trump doubled down.
She's a war hawk and a dumb one at that.
And his supporters stood with him.
The media is going to catch on to it and they're going to use it and they're going to pounce on it and use it for views.
But in Arizona, where the comments were made,
deeply troubling.
The state's Attorney General is probing whether the Republican candidate broke laws on death threats as the campaigns hit multiple states and even the same city at the same time.
Trump ban stickers.
The reality of what we're seeing here is exactly what's going to come in the final thrust of this campaign, as both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris barnstorm the swing states in the hope of what they say and, crucially, where they say it will give them a path to victory. Still, Donald Trump was making it personal.
She'll get overwhelmed, melt down, and millions of people will die.
Across the other side of Milwaukee,
we are turning the page.
As Kamala Harris hopes for a win, officials inside her campaign say they fully expect Donald Trump to claim victory on election night before the votes counted.
Just his history. That's who he is.
In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Jonathan Kersley, 9 News.
And Nine's political editor Charles Croucher is in the United States. Here's his analysis.
Invoking the imagery of shooting is always problematic in America, but particularly at an election time and particularly this election. Donald Trump's statements about Liz Cheney are made more alarming by the threats on his own life this year. The former president clearly wasn't instructing his supporters to shoot his critic, but it only takes one armed person in a country filled with armed people to see this as a hint to turn to tragedy. Politically, it's also a problem for Donald Trump. Polls suggest he is struggling with women and also risks losing the kind of traditional Republican voters that would have voted for Reagan or Bush or Dick Cheney. The world is lucky Donald Trump dodged the bullet back in July, but the threat for violence this election is far from over.
More than 200 people have now died in Spain's worst flood disaster in decades. Rescue operations are still underway to find those missing, while an army of helpers has joined the clean-up effort.
The flood of water replaced by a flood of volunteers. Thousands of people descending on Valencia, armed with shovels, brooms, buckets and bottled water, working as one to wipe the muddy streets clean. Donations pouring in too, providing what this community in Spain needs to survive. The worst of Mother Nature, bringing out the best of humanity.
They try to give to the people the things that they can eat or they can drink, because now it's a chaos.
Basic services like running water, electricity and phone connections remaining cut off in some areas. Dozens of people are still missing and search efforts are ongoing.
Sorry. They passed away.
Piled up cars and debris blocking streets, leaving some residents trapped 3 days on. As the shock wears off for others, the devastation has set in. This man who lost his house says, "I have lived there all my life. I am 62 years old, and now in one night it is all gone." The Pope offering his prayers, but with more rain forecast, this community knows there are more challenging days ahead. In London, Hannah Sinclair, 9 News.
A man is dead and a gunman is on the run after a shooting outside a Halloween party in Melbourne. In the wake of the killing, wild brawls erupted as partygoers spilled onto the street.
In full view of police, young men square up and attack each other, trading kicks and punches as outnumbered officers barricade the crime scene where a young man was shot and killed. Relatives sprinted past police tape as emotions spilled over and officers were forced to put a 17-year-old in handcuffs. The girl will be charged on summons with assaulting an officer. Another person attacked our cameraman, who was filming as witnesses poured out of a nearby Halloween-themed party. Police were unable to say whether the gunman or the victim attended the third-day venue before the shooting at 3:15 this morning.
It's a horrific incident.
Detective Acting Inspector Alan Rumble was also unable to say how many times the victim was shot or why. Police have not yet confirmed any detail of his identity.
Our real goal here today is to follow down, identify all avenues of inquiry, investigate those and ensure that the victims, the family of the victim are supported at this horrible time.
Forensics spent hours with the man's body before it was collected for the coroner this afternoon. No one has been arrested or charged over the incident. Mark Santomartino, 9 News.
A disabled man has survived a terrifying ordeal trapped in his bed when his Adelaide home went up in flames just after 1 a.m. His carer jumping to his rescue, dragging him through the flames and out of the house to safety. The cause of the fire remains unknown, with the damage estimated at $150,000. The WA Nationals have unveiled the latest round of candidates to contest next year's state election. 7 candidates were pre-selected by the National State Council today, including 4 in metropolitan seats, which the country-based party is targeting for the first time.
Many people telling me that they don't want to vote for either the Labor Party or the Liberal Party, and we are that option that people are looking for, that sensible alternative.
So far, the party has announced policies to cut payroll tax, extend trading hours and abolish stamp duty for first home buyers. Pop superstar Ariana Grande has touched down in Australia for the world premiere of her new movie, Wicked. It's a fresh take on the classic story Judy Garland and her ruby slippers brought to life nearly a century ago.
Through the doors at Sydney International, a wicked welcome to the land of Oz. Crowds gathering for hours to catch a glimpse and get a snap of Ariana Grande and co-star Cynthia Erivo. No brooms needed. A 15-hour flight from LA. The stars with a nod to their characters. Popular witches Glinda and Elphaba proving pink goes good with green.
The time has come. We're so grateful to be starting in Oz. Oh my gosh. We're starting in Oz.
The Broadway hit turned blockbuster tells the story of the Wizard of Oz through the eyes of the Wicked Witch of the West.
It's the wizard who should be afraid of me.
The film revolving around an unlikely friendship.
Come with me. What? To meet the wizard. I couldn't possibly. This is your moment. I'm coming.
Coming to life with live singing from the stars on the set during filming.
What did the role mean to you? Oh my goodness, everything. Everything, truly everything. It's a dream come true, and to share it with this incredible cast, we're all so grateful.
In the city, Maya windows transformed with costumes and merchandise.
I dropped everything and I said to my mum, I need to get in the city now and try to find her.
Tomorrow's world premiere will be hosted right here at the State Theatre, and most likely won't be a walk down the red carpet, but the yellow brick road. The stars also sticking around to experience the real Oz.
Yes.
I really would like to see the Opera House.
The Opera House. And also just sharing this moment with our fans here.
The first stop on a 5-city tour because there's no place like Australia. Madison Scott, 9 News.
Thanks for your company here on 9. Still to come this Saturday, royal visitor. The Duchess of York touches down in Perth, kicking off her Australian book tour. An elderly driver taken to hospital after crashing into an eastern suburbs nursing home. The bombshell release of former Premier Daniel Andrews' 000 call after he collided with a teenage cyclist. And a warning from farmers over soaring insurance costs. The fears consumers will have to pay more. That's still to come. An elderly driver has been taken to hospital after crashing into a nursing home in Perth's southeast. The white MG3 hatchback slammed into the outside of the village on Lewis Road in Forestfield at 11:45 this morning. No residents were injured in the crash, while the driver, aged in his 80s, was taken for a checkup. WA police have impounded another Pplate driver's car after the 19-year-old behind the wheel was caught hooning at 157 kilometres an hour in Meckering in the Wheatbelt. It happened just after 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon in a 110 speed zone. The teenager will be served a summons for reckless driving. It comes just days after 2 other Pplate drivers were charged, caught speeding around 100 kilometres an hour over the limit. The King and Queen might have skipped WA on their tour down under, but we're not missing out on a brush with royalty. The Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, touching down in Perth, kicking off her national book tour. Fergie has signed a 22-book deal with Perth-based publisher Serenity Press and is visiting a number of places on her trip, including a sold-out crowd in Joondalup last night and Bunbury and Busselton today.
I'm in Busselton, Dimmock's bookstore, and I'm dying to see you. Come and see me there on the 2nd of November.
The Duchess will hold 2 more book signings, one in Mosman Park tomorrow and at Dimmock's on Hay Street on Monday. Former Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews has responded to the release of a 000 call he made following a collision with a teenage cyclist in 2013. Mr Andrews is denying any wrongdoing, saying the recording confirms his version of events, while the cyclist's father says the audio contradicts them.
Okay, and what's the problem there? Tell me exactly what happened.
We've turned right into Ridley Street and a kid's come flying through on the bike path.
Yep.
And we've hit him.
And is he conscious?
He is conscious, but he's in a lot of pain.
The victim's family is calling on Victoria Police to reopen the investigation into the crash. The US has announced it will deploy more military assets to the Middle East. A ballistic defence destroyer, a fighter squadron and strike bombers will be sent to the region in the coming months. It comes as Israel is reported to be at a high level of readiness for a response from Iran. An Australian woman has been arrested in Bali accused of stealing 2 laptops from Adelaide. Police released this CCTV of the incident. Vanessa Louise Crimmins has been taken to the North Kuta police station and could face 5 years behind bars if found guilty. West Australian families are feeling the pain of rising insurance costs, but our farmers say soaring premiums are pushing them to the brink. Insurance companies blame our changing climate, but there are fears consumers will ultimately have to pay with higher prices at the checkout.
Steady. Peter Holding has been farming all his life, but the price of insurance is becoming a big hurdle. Way back.
Fuel and insurance are the biggest costs that I incur at the moment. Our insurance bill would have doubled since 2015.
Go back. It's a similar story for many farmers across Australia, and Peter says it's unsustainable.
We just won't have the money to insure it, so we'll just stop insuring it and then we'll just keep our fingers crossed.
This week's inflation data showed insurance was the fastest growing expense. In the last 12 months, the overall rate of inflation increased by 2.8%, while insurance went up by 14%. Insurance on a farm covers a wide range of things, from agricultural machinery, farm buildings and fencing, to livestock and crops, safeguarding farmers against accidents and bad weather.
As the frequency and severity of extreme weather increases, that is being factored into insurance premiums as well.
Insurance companies point to a changing climate, more fires, floods and storms, forcing them to push up prices.
These escalating costs mean that someone has to pay for it. They can't continue to be absorbed by farmers. They have to be passed on, and that means the only place you're going to see that is at the checkout.
It's all the more important that we double down on our mitigation efforts.
But Nationals leader David Littleproud says mitigation measures don't always lead to reduced premiums.
And I just fear that this is getting out of control and insurance companies are gaming the system, and I think it's now time for the ACCC to inject themselves and to run the ruler over this.
Insurance companies are on notice. If they're doing the wrong things, and the government will act, the regulator will act.
There is no evidence that the insurance industry is price gouging.
For Peter, the time for talk is over.
I just don't think sitting around in a room trying to work out how we're going to make the premiums cheaper is going to be the answer.
He wants to see more action on climate change.
I think we've wasted a decade doing nothing, and that's going to come back and bite us on the backside.
Amanda Kopp, 9 News.
Coming up, we're on the front line of America's border crisis. Next, a special report from Arizona as the countdown to the US election continues. Heartbreak as more than a dozen commuters are killed in a train station collapse. The Perth clinic offering a new treatment for HIV patients. And thousands turn out in their black and white best as Derby Day kicks off the Melbourne Cup Carnival. In the race for the White House, one of the major issues is immigration, America's southern border becoming a flashpoint for both candidates. Lauren Tomasi travelled to Arizona to find out what voters on the front line are feeling.
The White House is almost 4,000 kilometres from Nogales, Arizona, and yet it's right here at America's southern border where a large part of this campaign's being fought.
We're going to have the largest deportation in the history of our country.
I believe we have a duty to set rules at our border and to enforce them.
Both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump targeting this Sunbelt state. It's one of the 7 battlegrounds. Here, immigration is the key issue.
The people running over the border, coming in illegally, then the crimes, going up in the areas like this area here.
Melvin Davis is a military veteran. He was a long-time Democrat until Kamala Harris took over the campaign.
Kalama, whatever her name is, Miss Harris. I call her Miss Harris. I believe it's her, yeah. I think she had me to change my whole voting situation.
The Phoenix local turning to President 45. He says Donald Trump has the right policies in place, even if he does campaign on dangerous rhetoric.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats.
He is what he is. He's, I don't think he cut any corners. I don't think he's racist.
With rolls of razor wire and concrete panels, the wall here at Nogales, Arizona looks more like a high-security prison fence. This is the front line of America's immigration crisis, where the divide
couldn't be more stark.
My parents migrated from Mexico to come to America for a better life.
Sal finds Trump's views on migrants frustrating. He's already submitted his vote for Kamala Harris.
She just understands the people. She comes from a background similar to probably mine, our immigrant parents, and working hard, working at restaurants and stuff like that. We all did that at once, and I think that she's very relatable.
Arizona went blue with Biden in the last election, red with Trump before that. A swing state and its voters divided, but one thing they hope to agree on.
I do think the American dream is true.
In Arizona, Lauren Tomasi, 9 News.
A huge fire has engulfed a bridge in the US state of Ohio, with flames reaching more than 12 metres into the air. More than 60 firefighters battled the blaze with flames so intense it caused chunks of concrete to fall. 14 people have died in a freak collapse in Serbia's second largest city. A concrete canopy came crashing down at a main train station, with the Prime Minister calling it one of the saddest days since the Second World War.
Moments after tragedy struck, ambulances and fire engines raced to Novi Sad train station. It happened around midday local time. CCTV shows people sitting on benches near the entrance to the station in the country's second largest city as the structure came down, crushing bystanders. A desperate dig through rubble. Chunks of masonry so big and heavy, cranes were needed to lift them. 14 people confirmed dead, and that number is expected to rise. Serbia's Prime Minister saying this is one of the worst days in the history of Novi Sad since the Second World War. 80 emergency responders on scene, a 14-year-old girl among those trapped. Some survivors were able to be pulled out but had suffered serious injuries. The station had been renovated twice in the last few years, reopening as recently as July. The canopy that crashed down was built in 1964. Prime Minister Vucevic pledging to hold those responsible for maintaining it accountable. Rescue efforts continuing into the night, the government declaring an official day of mourning. In London, Edward Godfrey, 9 News.
It used to be a death sentence. Now HIV-positive people are living increasingly long lives. A Perth clinic now administering a new treatment that not only helps sufferers, but works to reduce the stigma around the illness.
One injection 6 times a year, changing the life of this HIV-positive patient.
It's freedom. That's what it is for me.
Up until now, a daily pill has been the only treatment option for the 38-year-old who contracted HIV 8 years ago.
It means the freedom to be able to, go down to Margaret River on a whim and not have to think about, have I packed all my pills?
I can't think of any other medication that has as much emotional baggage attached to it as an HIV medication.
HIV stands for human immunodeficiency virus. It damages the immune system, which impacts the body's ability to recover from infection and disease. The virus most commonly transferred through sexual activity. This new treatment, the Cabenuva injection, prevents the virus from being transmitted. It's administered at Royal Perth Hospital through its jabs clinic after a successful trial.
It's made life more manageable, convenient, and also with a huge psychological benefit and benefits to quality of life.
We've come a long way since the 1980s, and ads like this one.
Every one of us could be devastated by it.
That's when AIDS, which develops from HIV, was having devastating effects on global communities.
I started working in HIV in 1996, and at that time patients were on 40-plus medications a day, and it was predominantly palliative care.
More than 30 years later, the HIV landscape is far different.
It's not a death sentence.
In Australia, more than 30,000 people are currently living with HIV. More than 90% of those people are receiving HIV treatment. The injection isn't yet offered across all of Australia's HIV clinics. The hope is one day it will.
It just freed up my mind and freed up my emotions to focus on other things. And I want that for other people.
Claire Ridley, 9 News.
The Melbourne Cup Carnival has kicked off with Flemington in top form for Derby Day. It's one of the true glamour events on the racing calendar, drawing a bumper crowd of 80,000 punters in their black and white best.
Sunny skies and a sea of black and white. The Melbourne Cup Carnival officially off and racing. 80,000 punters flooded through the gates, keen to get the best position on the track.
We got here early, we just tried to set up. We thought we'd bring some chairs and just enjoy the day.
While the stars kicked things off with a sparkling splash. But nothing was going to dampen Olympian Emma McKeon's day, setting the tone for this derby party.
There's been an electric energy in Melbourne all week, and I feel like it sort of comes to a head here.
And it kind of signifies the end of the year, doesn't it? Where all the parties start. This is the one that kicks it off and it just rolls through to the end of January.
From Victoria's Secret models.
I think the energy is in the air. Everyone's excited. Summer's around the corner. So, yeah, they're a great one to be at.
To sports stars, all eyes were on the birdcage.
And we've got a cracking day, so we're here with some friends, great environment, and we love the races, and there's no better place to be.
Everyone's having a good time, everyone brings a really good attitude, and I absolutely just love having good fun here.
In the fashion stags, everyone was brimming with enthusiasm, adding their own twist to the tradition.
I thought I needed to add some wow factor to the dress, and I thought what better way to mix the black and white pearls to go with the Derby Day theme.
Some more than others.
I originally had it made to meet the Rolling Stones this year in Las Vegas, but running it through the Derby, and they're telling me that the cowboy motif is in.
Trackside, it was all about the company to get the celebrations in full swing.
Everyone loves to put a bet on, get with their friends. It's just fun.
The Derby is a curtain raiser to a jam-packed week of racing, and if today is anything to go by, it's going to be good.
Isabel Quinlan, 9 News.
The health dangers of smoking are well documented, but a new study has revealed just how long it takes for your heart to recover from the dangerous habit. Those details coming up. Plus, the bizarre eye in the sky spotted in outer space. But Bonnie Raynor is here with Sport Now. Bonnie, another disappointing day for a Test hopeful.
Tracy, the bat-off for the Test opening position hasn't gone to plan for a West Aussie. Bancroft bemused by a beauty again, failing to fire in front of Aussie selectors. The Cats flex their muscles as a Perth product steals the show with a career-best clinic. And blooded but not broken, an emotional victory headlines a rollercoaster derby day for Jamie Carr. A second innings bat-off for the Test opening position has ended in disappointment for Cameron Bancroft. The West Aussie managing just 16 runs against India A, but in a slight stroke of luck, his immediate competitor didn't stake a claim either.
Cam Bancroft's Australian Test future seemingly all riding on this innings. Understandably, some nervous moments.
Oh, it's a no ball as well. Would you believe it?
Bancroft unable to capitalise on the life. Gone for 16.
Oh, off the glove. Caught. Bancroft has to go.
While the West Aussies' output was ordinary, Sam Constas leaving the selectors with a tough decision.
Oh, wow. Constas has been KO'd. And maybe his Test aspirations this summer have too.
Also out for 16. From the specialist openers, Marcus Harris producing the best performance, managing 36 from 82 balls. The selectors could look down the order to Nathan McSweeney, the South Australian batting at 4, notching an unbeaten 47 before stumps. The national focus on the one-day series against Pakistan, starting Monday at the MCG.
To walk out on the same turf, at the same ground as the boys are lucky enough to do every Boxing Day, it's a pretty cool experience. And it comes down to, I suppose, just being ready between the ears.
Pakistan with a tough task of adjustment. The clash will be their first one-dayer in over a year.
I think it's just a change of colours of clothes. That's all we have to think about.
And WA hold the upper hand against Tasmania at stumps on day 2 of their Sheffield Shield clash. 97 runs behind with 8 wickets in hand. Opener Sam Fanning compiling a hard-fought 68.
Yeah, that was beautifully timed by Fanning, and that brings up his 50.
Before Jaden Goodwin and Hilton Cartwright combined for an unbeaten 102-run third-wicket partnership. Joel Sarantzis, 9 News.
The Perth Scorchers have suffered their first loss of the WBBL season, going down to the Renegades by 6 wickets. The Gades taking all 10 scalps with spin, bowling Perth out for just 140. The openers making light work of the chase, combining for a 102-run opening stand. Perth putting on the brakes late to delay the inevitable.
Maybe she was waiting for her ball. She gets that one from King, and that is the way to finish off an impressive win by the Melbourne Renegades.
The Scorchers looking to bounce back against the Heat at home on Tuesday night. Woolwich Marooa coach Daisy Pearce admits it's disappointing to have ended the season with 5 straight losses. Pearce's maiden campaign in charge coming to a close with today's 46-point defeat to Sydney. The AFLW Trailblazer believing it's been a season of progress after they recorded a club record 4 wins.
Seen some really positive signs of our game coming together with how we've been moving the ball, getting better and better around the contest. That's probably why today was a little bit disappointing, because we couldn't match it with Sydney.
The match was Evie Gooch's last after announcing her retirement earlier in the week. Perth Glory have held on to claim its first points of the A-League season in a 0-0 away draw with Central Coast. The clash producing only 3 shots on target between both sides. Glory rescued by the video technology late on after a penalty was awarded against centre-back Lewis Kanga.
After on-field review, the ball strikes the arm of number 33. However, the arm is in a natural position. Therefore, no penalty, drop ball to the goalkeeper.
Sub Nathaniel Blair with a late chance to steal all 3 points for the Glory, but couldn't finish it off. The Perth Wildcats head into tomorrow's clash against South East Melbourne off consecutive wins following last night's 113-105 victory over the Hawks. Perth product Ben Henshaw enjoying a career-best night, draining a game-high 26 points to go with 6 assists.
What everyone saw tonight was a culmination of hard work over the last 15, 16 months, the time that he's been with us. You know, he has a great purpose to his work habits.
Jesse Wagstaff will play game 483 tomorrow to become the club's outright games record holder after last night equalling Ricky Grace's 482. Well, champion jockey Jamie Carr has stolen the show on the first day of the Melbourne Cup Carnival, saluting in the Victoria Derby despite a broken nose. The day a roller coaster for Carr, who had earlier accepted a ban for dangerous riding and honoured a friend with another emotional win.
A touch of spring in the air with Flemington in full bloom. 80,000 turning out as the people made the most of their day.
Give me a crack with the whip to get going. Away we go, ladies and gentlemen.
A black and white throwback with punters partying like it's 1855 for Australia's oldest feature race, the Victoria Derby.
And they're racing. Keeneland away fairly.
The Anthony Cummings-trained El Costello started as a hot favourite, but also in barrier 16 near the stands and well back in the field with a kilometre to go. By the time they hit Flemington's famous straight, Gold Rush Guru had surged to the lead with Jamie Carr on board.
Gold Rush Guru for South Australia with 100 to go is pulling out. It's the stronger. It's going well. And Gold Rush Guru won the Derby.
An extraordinary turn of events for the champion jockey, who was left bloodied earlier in the day and scratched from race 5 after Hurry Curry refused to enter the gates. Carr needing to pass a concussion test just to get a start in the Derby.
You know what fixes broken noses? Champagne. I have plenty waiting for you when you cross the line first.
She has those days. It's never just smooth. It's up and down, but great win for South Australia.
Not to mention emotionally drained after a win in the Damien Oliver on board the Kieran Maher-trained Another Will, just days after the death of friend, part owner and racing legend Colin McKenna.
A win that means so much.
I just wanted to make Cole proud, and thank God we got the win in the end. Something picked us up and carried us over the line.
Yeah, it's just such a great mentor, mate. Everything you could want.
No twists or turns in the first of the day's 3 Group 1s. A 6-furlong straight shot. The field of future sprinting champions turned into Swiss cheese as Chris Waller claimed his 6th Coolmore Stakes.
This is going to be dominant. Switch on the big winner.
And it was double trouble for the J-Mac Waller connection in the Empire Rose.
It's a head bobbing go. A tissue wins. seconds.
2 Group 1 wins on Derby Day, nothing to sneeze at. Mark Gottlieb, 9 News.
And Oscar Piastri will start from pole position for the sprint race at the Brazilian Grand Prix. The Aussie edging out McLaren teammate Lando Norris with a stunning final lap.
Wow, and he does it! By 0.03 of a second, Oscar Piastri is on provisional pole.
Starting from the best seat in the house, so yeah, we'll try and make sure it stays that way.
It's the second time Piastri has nabbed pole for a sprint race. Trace, that concludes a very busy day in sport and a massive day tomorrow for our AFLW Dockers as they have their last game at home against the Bulldogs before finals footy.
Fingers crossed for the girls. All right, Bonnie, thanks very much. Next, the popular album taking out the word of the year, and it's the leading cause of preventable death. But what long-term impact does smoking have on your heart? New research explained. Australian children aren't getting enough exercise according to new data. Just 14% are active at least 3 times a week, with most spending time swimming, playing soccer or basketball. Nearly half of all adults are also not getting enough exercise. Walking, jogging and heading to the gym are the most popular forms of fitness. There's new evidence tonight on the health impacts of heavy smoking and the lasting effects it has on the heart. Health reporter Gabriella Rogers has the details.
Smoking is the leading cause of preventable disease and death in Australia. People who stop, no matter what age, will improve their health and boost life expectancy. While quitting significantly reduces someone's risk of cardiovascular disease, new research shows there's a lag according to someone's smoking history. For heavy smokers who quit, it can take more than 25 years for their heart health to return to normal. The Korean study analysed data from 5 million people as part of the country's mandatory health insurance program. It also revealed that a light smoker's heart health returns to normal within a decade of quitting.
The study reaffirms what we know about smoking. There's no safe level of smoking. And the best thing that you can do if you're a smoker is to quit and to stay smoke-free for as long as possible in your life.
The heart is just one aspect. Quitting lowers the risk of 12 types of cancer and chronic lung disease.
Defined as confident, independent and a little bit messy, brat has been picked as Collins Dictionary's word of the year. The term went viral off the back of British singer Charlie XCX's album by the same name, which was released in June. Other words shortlisted were anti-tourism and delulu. Time now for a look at Perth's property market. Sales activity and total listings for sale were both up again last week. Nine's Property Watch shows almost 5,000 properties are currently on the market. According to Reiwa.com, 914 are under offer or have been sold. Our top selling suburbs, Perth, Baldivis, Dinella, Rivervale and Scarborough. At the higher end of the market, this 4x2 located in the coastal suburb of Dawesville, featuring modern fittings and ocean views, sold for $1.475 million. Further north in Bentley, this family home boasting multiple indoor living areas and spacious bedrooms selling for just over $750,000. While this 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom unit in Subiaco went for $620,000. An unusual solar eclipse has been spotted on Mars. A potato-shaped moon was observed passing in front of the sun, with NASA saying the event created a googly eye effect as it crossed the planet. The eclipse was captured by the space agency's Perseverance rover. A cooler week ahead. I'll be back with your weather details after the break. A cloudy and drizzly spring Saturday, but not much falling in the gauges, up to 2 millimetres for the city. It was a bit humid overnight, dropping to just 17 by 5 this morning. It eventually got up to 23 after 1 this afternoon. Right now it's sitting on 18 degrees. To the satellite now, and a front and trough will push cooler, gusty winds and showers to the south of the state, and there will be a slight chance of a shower for the city in the early morning. It'll drop down to 12 overnight and we should reach a max of 23 degrees. It should also turn into a mostly sunny Sunday. For the start of the working week, Monday becoming cloudy, 23 degrees. Some light showers for Tuesday, 22, up to 5 mils to fall on Wednesday, a top of 20. Partly cloudy on Thursday, 22, a maximum of 25 degrees on Friday, and warming up come the weekend, 29 on Saturday. Before we go, here's Adam Higgerty with a quick look at this week's edition of 60 Minutes.
Thanks, Tracy. Tomorrow night.
She was one of a kind. A mother just knows.
Controlled, trapped, dead.
She didn't do this.
Exposing Australia's invisible killings.
Hidden homicides staged as suicide.
It's a national shame.
It's murder, just using the victim's own hands.
Plus, how music sensation Kid Laroi,
definitely the craziest thing I think I've ever done,
became the man of his family.
I'm going to try my best. Maybe that is part of being a role model.
That's tomorrow night after the block. Back to you, Tracy.
Thanks, Adam. That's 9 News this Saturday. Thanks for your company. I'll keep you updated throughout the evening. From the team, enjoy your evening and good night.